So we have the three.
They're similar, yeah. Okay, I'm going to have you stop because I think most of you are either finished or very close to it. The reason I did this as a puzzle is because this, according to Marzano, is the way to analyze whether you're giving effective instruction. So, according to him, you are all supposed to be thinking about 60 things simultaneously. 60. Okay? Which to me feels kind of like juggling or putting together a puzzle. So that's the reason we did this, was to kind of really look at how much goes into effective instruction. You have the planning component. You have the in-class component. You have the reflective component. You had a good workshop on reflective teaching, no? Did you have a workshop on reflective teaching? Someone named Carlos?
Yeah.
Juan Carlos. The best workshop. So, okay, great. So reflective teaching, and then professionalism. So I'm going to give you the completed chart, and I want you to look to see first if you were correct. But being correct on putting this together wasn't as important as taking a look at all these elements and making sure you understand what they all are. Okay? So let me get you a complete version.
Let's see.
Let's check. There is one more. She's in the
Besides just checking whether you were correct, and if you were, you check to be sure you understand what they're all saying.
Went back with the camera. You understand everything? Okay. No, not just compare, but you understand the language. Well, wrong is subjective. Thank you.
Nicole? What is this? Like
You're paying attention. You're on the ball. I'm just pulling out what might be new vocabulary. Withedness. Being with it. What does it mean when you're with it? Yeah, if you have any things that you don't understand, vocabulary that you don't know or is confusing, tell me and we'll look at it together. That's a good one to talk about. Yes, it means now. This word is mine. You do like a stop. You don't just let go. We would make the table in between 2 points, towers, 2 towers. So instead of a T, you don't need to put it between 2 vowels. Count as it's surrounded by something.
Is it kind of way out?
In construction, yeah. In construction, it's a kind of way out. It's what they put on their building when they're making it. It's how they build it outside. But the teaching is something else. No, this is everything.
Yeah.
Any other questions on concepts or vocabulary? So far we've got witness, collegiality, and scaffolding. Scaffolding.
Support.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Structure.
Any other questions? Okay, so witness, what does it mean when you are with it?
Together.
Together.
Aware.
Aware, that's a very good word for it. So witness is like awareness. When someone is with it, they are paying attention. Another expression we use is on the ball. It means something very similar. Okay. To be with it and on the ball are the same. Collegiality.
It's in, not out. It's in.
What?
Doing something. If you're in, you know everything. If you're out, you don't know anything.
That's true. That's true. In or out, yeah. Collegiality.
Could be colleagues and something like this.
Yes, it's related to.
I don't know.
It's related to colleagues.
To colleagues.
Right. Collective. All of those COLL means something. Do you know what it means?
Group.
Yeah, group. Okay. So that means working with your peers, your colleagues, okay, for professional development purposes or what have you. And what about scaffolding? What is it? What is scaffolding besides this?
Something that helps you to grow. Keep going.
Yeah, it helps you to grow. So it's like if you have to introduce a complicated concept, you might start out with simpler components to build up to that more difficult concept.
Like a scheme or structure or something, foundation.
We're going to talk a little bit about this and differentiation, and I'll give you some examples, but it's like sometimes you can't just give them the complex idea. You have to break it into smaller parts, simpler parts, and build up to the big idea, right? So that's kind of what scaffolding is. Any other questions? So, to me, this, when I looked at it, even though I had, worked with Marzano and things like that before, I thought, holy cow, 60 things is a lot of things to think about every single day. Like, this is crazy when you really think about it. And that's why I think it's part art and part science. You have all these components, but it's very hard to make all of them work together at the same time. So, as we kind of move forward from here, we're going to look at the things that have been proven to be the most effective in terms of instruction, and that will sort of tie it all together. High yield strategies for English language learners, they've proven that there are certain things that tend to give a lot of results. Hold on one second. No.
What is high yield?
High yield means you're going to get a lot of results from the students. Okay, so what they've done is they've kind of done some research to show what types of techniques give the most results. Where's my cursor? There we go. Okay. So this is on the web. Wait, no. Sorry, you're looking at the wrong thing right now. Sorry. Okay. So this is on the website. These are what are called high yield strategies for English language learners. That means you're going to get the most results, okay? So the thing that they have proven to be the most effective for learners is identifying similarities and differences. Number one, it gets you 45% gain, which means you're really getting a bang for your buck, right? If you have the students do this, they're going to acquire information pretty quickly. Okay, this is identified as the most effective. Okay, so Venn diagrams or T-charts, that's where you have the T in one thing on one side, one on the other. Compare and contrast, cause and effect. Sorting words, so kind of sorting things out like you did here, trying to figure out what goes with what. The warm-up activity where you were trying to find people who had similar ideas to you. All of that is very helpful in having students like pick up what you're trying to teach them. Okay, so having them identify similarities and differences was number one. Cooperative learning, also pretty good. Okay, so we're looking at these strategies that they said in the book. Here's exactly how good they are. Okay, so cooperative learning gets you 27% gain. So that's group projects, shared reading and writing, passing books, so doing like book previews, having them do little skits or plays, role play. All of that is also very effective. So group work is good too. Number three, non-linguistic representations. There's our visual stuff that we talked about at the beginning of the class. So pictures, manipulatives, concept maps. Gets you the same amount of payback as group work. Okay, so they're both similarly effective. Okay. Questions, cues, and advanced organizers. So using graphic organizers, which is similar to the visuals, but gets you slightly less in terms of gain. So not quite as effective as the visual representations. And believe it or not, homework and practice, 28% gain. Now, unfortunately, many of you have said your students really just don't like to do their homework. So, knowing that, okay, unfortunately, you're losing something that's very good in terms of practice. But what it means if you know this is that you can focus your attention on some of these other very high yield strategies, knowing that they're not going to do this. Probably, right? So, identifying the similarities and differences and using pictures and group work, that all helps, okay? I made copies of this, but they turned out very dark. So if you want to look for this, though, it's on our class website under January 28th today, and it says high yield strategies. Okay. So I just thought this was helpful to see how some of these procedures actually result in student learning, okay? Because the book is not particularly specific in terms of numbers with this stuff, okay? Reinforcing effort and providing recognition. Here's the feedback. Feedback from you. 29% gain, okay, for giving praise and valuing their own culture and honoring learning style, okay? All of that is very helpful, okay? So I know you're getting tired of listening to me, and we're almost done. So what it boils down to is all the stuff that we've kind of talked about all class. So what it's nice to see is that across different sources, the textbook, Marzano, the internet, everything has kind of come down to these basic ideas of using visuals, being clear, identifying similarities and differences. It's the same across, which is kind of nice. So even though you have 60 things on that paper, right, it's shown that there are particular things that work more effectively than some of the others, okay? So you don't always have to feel like you're juggling all 60 of those balls at the same time. You can really focus on these things that work the best in certain cases, okay? Any questions about that? I just thought that was interesting to see what the students are really getting from what we're giving them, and sometimes it's not what you think. The homework one always shocked me, that they would get that much from homework. Okay, so today's homework, for you, which I don't have to worry, you will do it, okay? I think we might actually end a little early today. For Thursday, you should be happy because I was originally going to make all of you read 2 chapters. But instead, we're going to do a little jigsaw, and half of you are going to read 1 chapter, and half of you are going to read the other chapter, and then you will share, okay? So, if I can, let's see, this table, and this table, yeah. Huh?
I do have to read, then we're going to share the same
We're
group.
gonna
So
do,
it's
okay. So can I get these 3 tables over here? This one, this one, this one. Okay? You guys are going to read chapter 28. Okay? This table, and this table will read chapter 29. Now, Carlos, Josenes, and Manu don't have to read any chapters because they came up with 16 ideas at the beginning of the class, all right? So we'll put them with another group, and you'll have to teach them everything, okay? Now, if you want, you can decide to read the chapter from the book. That's up to you, okay? The other thing, your other piece of homework, okay? Do you know what you're reading? 29. Okay. The other piece of homework, I want you to write down 1 to 3 things that you really want to focus on in the next 3 weeks of this class. Because we're getting down to the parts now that are less textbook, less background in theory, and more making stuff to use in class. Okay? So, but it's you need the background knowledge before you can go and make things that are useful and effective. So we wanted to look at all of that before we start making materials, because we want to use what we learned. We want to think about identifying similarities and differences and asking questions that are open-ended and don't have necessarily one correct answer, that sort of thing. But think about what things you still feel like you would like to take away from this methodology class. Okay? Please limit yourself a little, no more than 3, just because we only have so much time. And bring that with you on Thursday. I do not see you until Thursday. Okay? Now, those of you who have Sarah for culture class, she told you to go to room 2 something tomorrow. No. Go to room 116. Everyone is going to spend the first 10 minutes together, all of you. And then you'll split off. So don't go to the 2nd floor room, go to the 1st floor room tomorrow. Everyone will start in room 116 tomorrow. Okay?
This
Yes.
paper we are going to write to give to you or not just to give to you?
To give to me. I'm going to take the paper. Yeah. Okay? Because that's going to influence what we do for the next couple weeks.
For the group, for each of us.
For you personally. And I'm assuming there are going to be some overlaps. Yeah.
The 3 things that we have been studying with this.
No. 3 things you still want to learn. You haven't learned it yet, but you really want to. I thought this class would have more bleh. I want to talk some more about bleh. If you could put the puzzles back into the envelopes, I would be very appreciative. And once you have done that, you are free to go a whole 5 minutes early. As soon as they Oh, it's up here.
Você vai paquerar o Lourão na hora.
Que bom.
Não.